Hey guys, so I made a video like this at the end of last year, just reviewing the young adult books I read throughout the year, and it didn't get a ton of views. It got some views. Some people actually watched it and enjoyed it, so I thought, why not do another one this year? This has nothing to do with anything else on my channel, but it's something that I love talking about because if you don't know, young adult books are my favorite thing in the world. I write them myself, not published yet. Welcome to my review. None of these books were actually published in 2020 because I'm sort of behind on just like reading new things. I'm like catching up on things that everyone's read that I haven't read yet. So if you're looking for like a really new, up-to-date review, this probably isn't the video for you. Also, there will be no spoilers. I will do my best not to spoil any of these books. So yeah, don't worry about that. You can watch this spoiler-free, I believe. Okay, I have like lots of notes. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books to talk about today. I'll try to get through them as quickly as possible so that this video isn't 5.5 hours. First of all, I don't have all the copies of these books still because some of them I either sold or gave away, but I still have some of them. I like to read everything, like I don't do the whole Kindle thing or whatever. I don't know, I just like to turn pages. Let's start out with One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. This was published in 2017. If you know about young adult novels, you've probably heard of this book or read it already, probably. I'm like so late. This book was very hyped. I feel like this book got a lot of attention, and in my opinion it's because it was marketed extremely well. First of all, the title is so catchy. I think there's 4 different points of view, and I read this one earliest in 2020, so I don't remember every single detail. It was basically marketed as like Breakfast Club but with murder. So basically like 5 kids go to detention, one of them gets killed, and the whole thing is from the other 4 switching point of views, and you're trying to figure out who killed this person. I would give this book, I would say I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5. It wasn't bad, but it didn't really stick with me like some other books do. I wouldn't read it again, and I'm like really big on rereading things. I got through it really fast. It was really fun to read. I enjoyed reading it. None of the characters really stood out to me. I don't know. I don't really know like exactly what it was about this book that I didn't like absolutely love. It was a fun one. Like it was fun to read. Didn't really leave me with any like extreme emotion, or I didn't like really take anything from it. The twist was like not my favorite thing in the world. It wasn't like super disappointing, but it wasn't like mind-blowing. Not every fiction material that I read has to like blow my mind, but I just thought it was just kind of whatever to me, but it wasn't bad. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, which was published in 2019. So this is another one with a really catchy title, which is definitely what drew me to the book initially. This is the one that's like kind of it's like very clearly a British novel, everything about it, except like it's set in the US for some reason. I won't really blame the author for that. I'm sure that was some like marketing thing where they ended up having to market it to the US. I don't know. In my head, I was just thinking of this as a novel set in the UK because everything about it is like so UK. But I love this book. I would give this like a 5 out of 5. It's about this girl who's basically for a school project decides to like dig deep into a murder that happened in her town and figure out like who was really responsible. I really love the main character. She was really funny. I think I laughed out loud a few times even, which is really great for a book with like darker themes in my opinion. I love the contrast between like humor and darker stuff, so I absolutely loved that. Overall, super fun read, 5 out of 5. Little Monsters by Kara Thomas, which was published in 2017. I still have my copy of it. I don't know why I got this cover. I mean, this cover is okay, but the cover that I saw online was like the coolest picture ever. I don't know why. Sometimes books have multiple covers. I don't really know what that's about. I wish I got that one, but doesn't matter. Not important to the book at all. I would give this like a 4.5 out of 5. I read this back to back with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, And it was so interesting how these two were just like complete opposites despite both being about solving a murder. This one was like definitely a different vibe, like very, very dark, eerie vibe. I really like the imagery: snowstorm, creepy houses, blood in the snow. It's very cold vibes. There's like this weird horror aspect to it that's, I think, adds a lot to the story. I kind of liked the slightly unreliable-ish narrator, just like something's kind of off about her, and a lot of the interactions between the characters are really off. Like something just seems like so off about everything in this book. In your head you're like, is this just like weirdly written, or is there something I'm missing? And the answer is there's something you're missing. I would say if you like kind of dark Pretty Little Liars vibes, this is like probably a good read for you. The Gray Seer by Kim Liggett, published in 2019. This book is, for me, 100% 5 out of 5. This is probably, out of all of these books I talk about today, this is probably my favorite. I would say I have two favorites. This is definitely one of them. I normally don't read fantasy or dystopian or really anything like that. I kind of stick to like real world stories, even if they have speculative elements like ghosts or something supernatural in the real world. That's okay with me, but I never really read anything that's set in like a different world. This one, I don't remember why I decided to read it. I think it just came up on like Amazon or something, and it just kind of intrigued me for some reason. I am so happy that I read this. I really, really love this book. It's about a society where the girls are believed to have magic. I don't have the copy, I sold it. I would have kept it because I really like this book, but I want like as many people as possible to read this book, so that's why I was okay with giving this one away. So basically the girls are told that they possess some sort of magic, and this is a direct quote from the description. That's why they're banished for their 16th year, to release their magic into the wild so they can return purified and ready for marriage. But not all of them will make it home alive. Parts of it felt a little bit slow when they're all out there in the woods in their little camp thingy, and slightly repetitive. There was even a part about halfway through, maybe a little over halfway through, that I didn't really like. It kind of felt like the book was going in a direction that was like a different vibe that I wasn't really feeling, but then brought us back and it came full circle in like a really beautiful way. Basically, I would highly recommend it for like pretty much anyone. I think I cried at the end, not really like out of sadness, but just because like so many emotions. Like a really powerful last chapter and paragraph. It like really got to me. This was like a book I thought about for a long time after I closed it. 5 out of 5. Radio Silence by Alice Osman, and that was published in 2016. I came across this book because I saw the picture on the cover and I really liked it, so that's what made me click on it. And I ended up buying it because it had like really amazing reviews. Everyone seemed to like absolutely adore this book, but honestly I would give this book like maybe 2 or 3 stars out of 5. I didn't love it. I will first talk about the prose. It has very like effortless diversity. There's different races and sexualities just across the board. I like that there's an emphasis on friendship instead of romance. Like normally in a YA you'll see like a romantic subplot even if the book isn't a romance. And I never really cared for that. Like I don't read romance at all, so it's something I can really do without, and I liked how this was 2 characters meeting and building a friendship instead. Cons, overall I just didn't find it interesting. And granted, this book probably wasn't meant to be read by me. As you can probably tell, I mostly read like thrillers and mysteries, and this was definitely neither of those. It's just a contemporary. I do like contemporaries. For example, I really liked We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. I think like maybe if I had read this when I was in high school, I could have appreciated it more, because a lot of it was about figuring out what you want to do after high school and like questioning the whole idea of college or university. It's not relatable to me anymore, really, but I feel like I might have appreciated this more in high school. I feel like this book was kind of geared toward like Tumblr kids, if that makes sense. There was a lot of like mentions of fandoms. But honestly, my expectations for this book, and this is my own fault, but because of the cover, the very mysterious cover plus the tagline, "Hello, I hope somebody is listening," I kind of thought this book would have a more mysterious vibe, maybe a little bit dark, not like murder level dark, but maybe just like a little bit dark, but this book really wasn't that at all. I actually read this really recently. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, published in 2014. I had heard a lot about this book. I kept hearing it being referenced a lot, so I just finally decided to read it. This is one that most people have probably already read by now, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, just in case you haven't. 5 out of 5, 100%. I absolutely love this book. This is definitely one of my favorites out of all of these. It's definitely not my usual type of book, although it is a mystery, but it's definitely different. It doesn't have like that teen voice. It has a very mature feel. I would say like it almost reads like someone, like an adult going back and telling the story of when they were a teen. Actually, I almost wanted to put this book down after the first few chapters because I was just like, this isn't my type. I'm not gonna like this. But I'm so glad that I pushed through and kept reading because this is definitely like one of my favorite young adult books at this point. Parts of it are almost written like poetry, which took some getting used to, but I eventually grew to kind of appreciate that. And there are so many names like mentioned in the first couple of chapters, and I'm really bad at keeping track of characters as it is, so I found that kind of frustrating. Just in the beginning though, you don't really need to keep track of every single character, even though there's a lot of mentioning of like different family members, because this is pretty much about like a big giant family on a private island, and I think it's fine if you only know like the main core characters. It's basically about a girl struggling to remember an incident that happened on this private island a couple years back. Can't really say much else, but the incident is definitely like, at first you kind of think it's kind of like nothing I've ever read before. I definitely figured out the twist before it was revealed, and it was kind of my interpretation that it was supposed to be that way, like you're kind of supposed to slowly put the clues together. But I read some reviews and apparently that's not always the case. Some people were just like shocked by the twist. I definitely like knew exactly what it was. How do I put this? Like, it's not like I was like, oh, I think this is what really happened, and then I read the twist and I'm like, yeah, I knew it. It wasn't really like that. It was like, it was a very slow build-up with just different clues, and when I put it together, like I knew 100% that that's what happened. Puzzle fits so perfectly, like this is what's going on here. And I really liked that. I really liked figuring it out. A lot of this is like the kids observing the adults too, and their drama, and I thought that was really cool from a child's perspective. I read this in, I think, 2 sittings. I finished it, and that's like really good for me. Some people can totally finish books in 1 sitting. I don't think I've ever done that, even though like I love to read, always reading, but finishing a book in 1 sitting, I don't think my ADD would allow that. I enjoyed like every moment of this book. My one and only complaint with this book has to do with the title. They never explain what liars means. This group of kids is called the Liars, and it's never explained why. And that was kind of like a twist that I was waiting for, because I thought there was something major that they lied about or something. It was never like talked about or addressed at all, except actually after the book in like the end section, you know, like after the author's note and all of that, there was like a note about why they were called liars, which in my opinion should have absolutely been in the actual book. I don't know if that was the like author's decision or if that was like an edit made later. I don't know, but I think that was very strange. And also I like how there's pictures. There's like a map of their private island, so you can kind of visualize where everything is. There's so many different names, like all the little houses have names, all the families have different names. I could barely keep track of it, but I honestly don't think that's even important. You don't have to understand how everyone is related to everyone else in order to like get this book, you know what I mean? I would recommend this if you haven't already read it. Damage Done by Amanda Panich, published in 2015. So basically, I heard that this book was one of the more dark YA books, and because of that I wanted to read it and see just exactly how dark an author could go with a YA. And yeah, it was pretty dark. Overall I would give it probably like a 4 out of 5. It was a good thriller involving a mass murder incident at a school, a twin brother and sister, and amnesia, in trying to piece together exactly what happened. None of the twists were too incredibly shocking to me, but overall it was a really fast read, a really good read. I enjoyed it. If you like really like messed up and dark concepts, I would definitely recommend reading that one. Those are all the books I read this year, I think. I hope I'm not forgetting any. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. I hope people actually watch this. I know this is not a book channel. I kind of want to keep this tradition of like doing this at the end of the year because I don't know, I love books. This is something I love, and this channel is just like my diary. So happy new year, everyone. I will see you guys when 2020 is officially over. Peace and love. Bye.